Okay, so in the last drawings that we did something like this here, where it was very geometric, and so very sort of straightforward. You could see where the light came down, and that determined where our shadow was, where the shading would be, all that kind of good stuff. So with that one there, maybe a highlight was here, how you could see working that out, etc. If you did something that was more along the lines of this, you could see how you got this light area on the porch because you could see how the light was hitting the roof and actually going into the shaded porch area a little bit. And or maybe you have something that's totally different than either one of these. That's cool. Remember, this is just two examples just to give you the idea that you don't have to copy mine exactly. In fact, not at all, really, just as long as the parameters, the understandings are the same. So now I'd like to do something that's very similar, but instead of it being very geometric, it'll be organic. In other words, irregular shapes. And instead of having the light just come, maybe, from just the side, then this time maybe challenging yourself to come from the back into the light, or from the front into the light. Um, anyways, I think what I'll do is I'm going to give you an example of both, sort of walk you through either one of these. Once again, you don't have to do either one of these. Please make up your own. I'm just trying to give you understandings so that when you're not following along with something like this, with a tutorial, that you can actually do it on your own. That's the whole goal, is that you don't need me to walk you through any of this. But anyways, this one is, yes, decidedly easier than this one here. So I'll start with this one, and if that's as far as you go, cool. If you want to attempt something like this, great. If you want to just watch the video where I make this one, cool. That's all right, and see how I worked out some of the problems. Okay, but first this one, not too hard at all, actually. If I can put this over here. Just like before, I've done a little pre-drawing to make things just a little bit quicker. But you'll see that this teddy bear, very, very simple, right? All it is basically a sphere right here with another sphere. And these are irregular, they're not perfect circles. And then the snout is also an irregular sphere shape. The ears, just circles. And the arms coming out, they are just cylinders, so to speak. Here and here. Okay, so that makes it really easy to determine where things are. I think I'll go ahead and darken this up a little bit. Normally, this is how light it should be, right? And on your screen, you can probably barely see it, right? And that's going to make things easier. Remember, draw lightly. I cannot really stress it anymore. But for our purposes, I'll go ahead and darken this up a little bit so you can see what's going on. Okay, so here's that beginnings of a circle, which will become a sphere for the head. Alrighty, and for the ears, and for the body, and then we've got the feet right here, and that's where I'll connect the feet to the body. And if you're in my art class, I'll talk a little bit more to you about how to place arms by placing the hands first and then connecting, between the bridge between the hands and the body would be the arms. Okay, but let's keep this really simple for right now, okay? And so let's concentrate on making the shadow right off the bat. So if I've got this sort of sphere right here and this one right here, okay, and I say like, well, where's the fattest part of this sphere? Well, this one would be right in here, right? You can imagine if I cut it in half, that's where it'd be. Or this one would be right here if I cut it in half. Okay. And so then I say like, well, all right, where's my light? Well, the angle is coming this way. The direction is coming this way. So we've got the light hitting it basically just from the front and slightly to the right. Well, easy enough. Um, if I say like, okay, where's the bottom of this thing? Where's the base of this thing? I say like, okay, well, here's the big fat part in the body. I'll just come on down. This is my angle here. Here's my angle here where those light rays are hitting. Try and keep them parallel here. So there's the light rays. That's the angle. And then I say, okay, so then if my bottom is somewhere right about here of the sphere, then there's my direction. So my angle and my direction. I say like, okay, so this was the fattest part. So projecting down, I can just say like, okay, this is going to be down here. And just like when I was making just the simple cylinder, that oval is going to stay the same. Remember this? So if I had a cylinder and I was drawing a shadow of this cylinder, then I'd say like, okay, here's the direction, and then here's the angle that this is making, right? This is where the light was coming in from. I say like, okay, here, all I have to do is make uh, an oval that's the same as this. You know, I could check it, check to see if those things are really the same. And by drawing lightly, I can correct it. Okay, and then that's where that shadow would be, right? We went over that extensively in another lesson. Okay, but here, hopefully you can see that with something, it's the same, well, thing, right? So here's the oval for this one. Here's the oval for this one. Okay, here's the oval for the head, and then coming down, here's the oval for the head down here. You can see how it intersects. And same thing, I can just find where my ears are over here and over here maybe. And then that's where the shadow is going to be. Easy peasy, right? Okay, so cool. I've already determined all that. I've got the structure. I've got where the shadow lays out. Now it's super simple. All I have to do is the shading. So I'll just start right up here with the ears and start giving them a little bit of body. And it's, once again, super simple, is that if you got the light coming in here, you're going to have the shadow on the opposite side. Just that easy. And if I've got the light here, same thing. And shadow coming in, same thing. And I've got even a little sub shadow coming off that ear. That just makes sense, doesn't it? You just got to kind of think it through. And so I've got the shadow coming in under here. You know, one thing we haven't talked about yet is texture. And maybe this is a good time with this drawing to start talking about texture. So the bear, this little teddy bear, of course, is going to have kind of a furry texture, won't it? Whereas my dragons might have scales. Who knows? Maybe you do something entirely different. Maybe you do a tree as an organic thing that you could put shadows to and make three-dimensional. And so the tree would have a texture that was more rough, like bark, or maybe you make a pickup truck, right? And so in that case, you could have either an old rusty texture, you know, like an old pickup truck, or you could have a very shiny, smooth texture, like a new pickup truck. Okay, once again, I'm just putting, if I got my light coming in here, I just put the shadows opposite. It's just that easy. So with this, making the texture, basically pretty simple. Once I get the basic shadowing in of where I'm going to be putting stuff, then maybe it's just a matter of leaving some of my shading kind of rough. Just that easy. Or making very short strokes. If it's really got a lot of individual hair, maybe find a clear spot in here. A lot of just individual little strokes to make that sort of shading. Yeah, anyways, so just continuing. So this here, remember, it's just a sphere. So how am I going to shade it? Well, I'm going to shade it just like any other sphere. Once again, man, that's why breaking things down into shapes, breaking things down into forms. So here's my sphere, right? had my light coming in here. And so, of course, I'm going to have it like this, and be shading like this, aren't I? So same thing, same exact thing with this bear, because it's just a sphere. You know, you can even break the human face down into smaller little areas like that, and so get really good shading on a face too. You know, much more complex than this bear, but same thing entirely. One thing, if you're making texture, you might want to be aware of is that if you're going to be leaving the pencil strokes, if you're going to leave those lines rough, then the direction, of course, really starts to matter. Because, for instance, if this was fur, I've got to think about the direction of the hairs in the fur and how they would wrap around. They would follow the angles, they would follow the surface of the structure right here. So there we go, something like that. And really it's kind of so forth and so on. Putting in some of the details here. Right. And even on the details, maybe these are just, you know, shiny plastic eyes. So they're going to be catching the light. You're going to have a highlight. They're going to have shading. Different values. Same old, same old. Everything is the same. That's what makes it so easy. So what I'm going to do at this point is just quickly fill this in a little bit, give it a little bit of body. Of course, you can see all my construction lines here. I would have erased those, you know. I wouldn't have let those be in. I would have made them nice and light. And as I didn't need them, I would have erased them. But let's just fill this in so it gives it a little bit of solid body. And you can see now why when you're doing your sketchbooks, I insist that you fill things in, not just outlines. Because leaving something in outlines, it's only part way done. It's not, that's just not done. If you don't have body filled in, it doesn't look solid when you leave things just in outlines. Okay. So like I say, I'm not going to sit here and make this all perfect. And you know, I've got a perfect example right here and I'll put it up on the board. But I just want to fill that in a little bit and then show you how I've got the shadow here so you can see that a little bit better. Now I had that initial oval and the other oval right here. And then I could even say like, okay, well from this foot here, I'm also going to have something. See, I can just line it up with those light rays right there to get where that would be right there. And with the ears over here, etc. And would I have anything here? Maybe a little bit. So then I can go ahead and darken in that shadow. Once again, making it darkest at the base of the shadow and probably letting it get a little bit softer as it reaches the edge. I can make some adjustments, like just having a straight oval and oval might be a little bit funny. I might kind of bring those together, just soften the edge on that. Maybe you'd see some of this arm coming out here, for instance, as far as making a shadow goes. And right here, this ear, see, it's so much further away. So I'm just going to make that shadow nice, a lot lighter than it would be, especially down here where it's going to be connecting with the object. Okay, so just like before, I want you to go ahead and put in the guidelines that you made representing the light rays, because I really want you to understand and get that concept how light is coming in straight, hits the edge here, there's your shadow. Light coming in here, hitting this edge right here, here's your shadow, right? And how that's made here, light coming in here, making that shadow. Okay. And so, if you can do it in a more elegant way, that's cool. Like this one's good enough right here. I don't have a lot of ugly light rays, but I've got enough that shows me that you knew the concept. I really want to check for understanding because, like I said, I want you to be able to do this on your own. I don't want you to need me to be around. Okay. So, like everything else, go ahead and give it a title. This is drawing 11, combining forms to make organic things. And put your name and your period and exercise 11, right? That helps me. And do a good job. So, like, for instance, this would not be considered finished. This is still just a work in project, a work in progress. But, you can see how I constructed that. I want to see something a lot more like this, including, you see how I've got the little horizon line? Just that little bit right there gives it a space to live in. And in future drawings, who knows? Maybe there's a bookshelf back here. Maybe there's a desk. Who knows? Who knows what's back there? Maybe there's other stuffed animals. But give your things, give your objects an environment in which to live, and they'll look so much better. Okay, well, that one was pretty easy. Next time we'll work on this one. This one looks really hard. There's a couple of lessons in here that even if you're not going to attempt this, that you might want to take a look at. But with that, good luck.